What's up? Today I want to share something that changed the way I see people, potential, and power. It's called learned helplessness, and it might just be the invisible reason you're stuck right now. In the 1960s, psychologists Martin Seligman and Stephen F. Meyer ran a series of experiments on dogs. I know it doesn't sound very inspiring, but stay with me. The dogs were placed in two groups. One group could press a lever to stop mild electric shocks, and the other group, no matter what they did, the shocks continued. Eventually, the dogs in the second group gave up. They stopped trying. They lay down and accepted that the shocks were going to continue. Here's where it gets interesting. When those same dogs were later placed in a different environments where escape was actually possible, they still didn't try. The door was open, they were free to leave, but they stayed put. They had learned helplessness. They had been trained to believe that nothing they did mattered. Now, I know you're not a dog in a lab, obviously, but how many times have you tried to build something, shift careers, try a business, and because it didn't work the first time, you stopped trying? You told yourself, I guess it's not for me. Other people have the time, the money, the support, and I don't. Or worse, I failed once, so I probably will again. That right there is where so many entrepreneurs get stuck. Not because they don't have what it takes, but because they've been conditioned by life, by systems, by trauma, by culture to stop trying. Let me give you a real example. There's a woman I coached last year. Let's call her Linda. Linda is smart, degree qualified, passionate about wellness. She had dreams of starting a line of natural skincare products. She had the formulas, the passion, even a logo designed by her cousin. But every time she was about to launch, she froze. Why? Because 5 years earlier, she had started to sell handmade candles online and no one bought them. Her friends didn't support and she lost $1,200. This embarrassed her. That one experience, just one, became her reference point. And even without realizing it, she created a story. When I try, I fail. So it's safer not to try at all. That's learned helplessness in real time. A door wide open, and yet she stayed caged. Let's make it even more personal. Years ago, I was standing outside a hospital in my scrubs holding a sign because we were striking for better conditions. Nurses demanding more than just survival pay. I was exhausted, unhappy, but underneath that, I was awakening because I realized no matter how loud we shouted, we were still asking for permission, still hoping a system that didn't see us would suddenly start caring. And I thought to myself, what if instead of asking for a better table, I built my own? That was the moment I began to break free, not from nursing, but from a way of thinking, from waiting, from apologizing, from outsourcing my power. And let's be real, this is not just about nurses or professionals. This is about the single mom who is afraid to charge for her talent. The woman who keeps getting promoted at work but dreams of running her own thing. The quiet creative who's been sitting on a business idea for years but can't shake the fear of starting. They're not lazy, they're not unmotivated. They're just conditioned to believe that bold moves are not safe. And the conditioning runs deep. Maybe you grew up in a home where money was always tight. So now, even when you have opportunities, you sabotage them. Maybe you were told to be realistic. So now every big dream feels like a fantasy. Maybe you've tried before and it flopped, and the shame of that stuck with you longer than the lesson. But here is what I want you to hear today. You are not stuck. You are trained. And if you are trained into fear, you can train yourself into freedom. Because that same psychologist, Martin Seligman, he just didn't identify the problem. He found the solution. When those dogs were physically guided out of the shock zone a few times, they began to realize, oh, I can escape. They started doing it on their own. In other words, with a little help, they unlearned helplessness. That's the power of guidance. That's the power of coaching, mentorship, community. That's the power of putting yourself in rooms that remind you you're not crazy, you're early. Listen, entrepreneurship is not just about branding or funnels or marketing. It's about identity. It's about becoming someone who takes action even when it's messy. It's about rebuilding trust with yourself, saying, even if I tried and failed before, I am still worthy of trying again. Even if no one supports me at first, I will back myself. Even if it's hard, it's harder to live in a cage, because make no mistake, comfort zones are not comfortable. They are just familiar cages. And the longer you stay, the more you convince yourself it's where you belong. But what if I told you the gate has always been open? You just haven't walked through it yet. And here is where I'm going to challenge you, lovingly but directly. Stop waiting for a perfect moment. Stop calling your dream a side hustle to keep it safe. Stop outsourcing your future to fear. Start. Ugly maybe, scared definitely, but start anyway, because 5 years from now, you'll either be so proud you did or still stuck in the same cycle of almost. Now, if you're nodding your head right now, feeling this deep in your chest, I want to invite you to take a real step. I created Success by Design, a private Facebook community for women who are ready to step out of their comfort zone and into entrepreneurship with clarity, with courage, and with community. Inside this Facebook community, we will share tools, strategies, mindset shifts, and we will hold each other accountable. Just real women building real businesses. You don't have to figure this out alone. Join us in the group. The link is in the comments below. And if you're ready for personal support, coaching that's tailored to where you are and where you're going, visit my website and let's talk. You were never meant to be stuck. You were never meant to play small. You were never meant to be tamed. You were born to lead, to build, to disrupt, to show your kids and your community what's possible when a woman remembers her power. So I'll end with this. The cage is an illusion. The door is open. Let's go.